So I'm in Photoshop, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Blackboard first to show you where we can open up the information that we're going to work with for homework and where the instructions will be. So open up Blackboard. I'm going to go to color correction, colorize black and white photos. This is our reference instruction PDF. And what we're going to be doing in class is we're going to take a look at this lady and take a look at how we use adjustment layers to colorize this black and white image into this color image. We're going to use adjustment layers and hue and saturation, and we're also going to take a look at how to make adjustments to a black and white image to improve the black and white image with color. Is it color contrast and contrast black and white, and then also hue and saturation as well. So those are my PDF instructions, and this is my download images. So this is the lady with the sweater, and we're going to open this up. So I will right click, copy image, minimize this, go to File, Open. If you have it download, you can look for it and open it. But since I copied it, I'm going to go to File, New. It already saves the dimensions. If you copy an image, it saves the dimensions already for you in the clipboard. I'll press Create, and then I'll go to Edit, Paste. Edit, Paste. And just push OK, and that image will come in. Okay. Now, in here, I'm looking at, basically, I'm analyzing the image. I have layer 1, which I can hide. I have background layer, which is fine. I don't really need this because I'm going to be using adjustment layers on top of this to colorize this image. I'm not going to do anything to this image. I'm going to use the non-destructive effect. Okay? So the first thing I want to do is, this lesson is building off the lesson that we did last week, which was making selections. So I want to make a selection of, let's say for instance, the face to give her skin tone color. Right? So just like our toolbox when we build a house or something like that, we want to know what's the best tool to use for this thing. So if I go over to my tools, I can analyze which tool I would want to use. Like I don't want to use the rectangular marquee tool because that doesn't look like the face. So I press Command D to deselect. Maybe I want to use the polygon lasso tool to go all the way around, but that's probably going to take too long. I just want something really quick that I can go around, and then I can adjust later. So possibly I can use the quick selection tool. If I use the right bracket to make my selection go bigger, I can go around and I can do a quick selection like this, which will be, it'll be okay. I don't necessarily need to be precise because I can always erase this. But the one thing that I want to do, it doesn't matter if I do my quick selection, I'll deselect over here, Command D, or if I do the lasso tool. The lasso tool, I have to have, my hand has to be a little bit steady because this is a free-form organic selection. Okay, and that's fine too. I mean, I went a little bit off here, but I can also hold Option to take away from my selection. I can hold Shift to add to my selection, right? And that's what we learned last class. Shift adds to the selection, Option takes away from the selection, okay? I'm gonna deselect. Again, quick selection tool. I go right around these edges. If I go too far outside the edges, it starts to select the hair. If I select the hair, I can hold Option to take away from selecting any part of the hair. Okay, so this is okay. And then once I make a selection, what I want to do is I want to modify the selection edges. So I don't want it to be so sharp. So I'm going to go up to the top where it says Select and Mask. And right now, you can see how it's very sharp right here. Over here is the transparency feature, which allows me to see either just the selection or the selection with everything else. So if I just kind of move that all the way over, I can see what that selection looks like. And it looks very rough, and I don't want that. So in order for me to fix that, there's a couple of things I want to do. First, I want to use Smooth. This is the global refinements. So I'm going to smooth out how rough that is. Then I'm going to use Feather to soften the edges. Okay, so I'm just going to soften the edges a little bit. Okay. Now, this is not really going to make too much a difference because I'm going to have the ability to go in with because of what I'm going to do is make something what's called a mask. And I'm going to go in with the mask and I'm going to adjust the edges using my paintbrush. So right now, I just want a rough selection. As I do this, all the different global refinements, once I get to a point where the selection's okay, I go down and I press OK. You're not going to see anything happen, but those refinements have been made to the selection. So now I'm going to go over here to the bottom of the layer palette, and I'm going to choose this middle option right here. It's called Create New Adjustment Layer. And let me just make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. I'm going to go down to this list and choose Hue and Saturation. Okay, so when I select Hue and Saturation, it makes what's called a mask. And this mask used my selection to say, make whatever is in white visible, make whatever is in black transparent or protected, like a window. So from here, my properties show up in my hue and saturation. The first thing I want to do is I want to click Colorize. Automatically, when I click on Colorize, her face turns a certain color. Hue means color. Saturation is the intensity of that color. And lightness basically says how bright do I want that or how dark do I want it, right? So what I need to do is I want to create a value that's going to give her skin tone value, right? So I'm going to move the hue to a value that I think works, which is a Donald Trump orange. And from here, I can take down the intensity of that, and I can make it a little bit lighter or a little bit darker. So this is Miami, so I want her to have a little bit of a tan. All right, so I'll bring that intensity down just a little bit. Now, the second thing you want to do is you want to change what's called a blending mode. This is a blending mode for the layer. Right now it's set at normal, so it does not take anything, it doesn't take any of the shadow value. But what I want to do is I want to go all the way down here to color and set this blending mode to color. And what that does is it takes the grayscale value and it starts to make the grayscale value shine through. Now you can also, like for, just to kind of explain how this blending mode is set up. This value is it deals with all the hue, saturation, and brightness of an image, right? So hue, saturation, and luminosity, that's the brightness. And the color says take some of the grayscale values. This area here deals with all the shadows. So if I wanted to make something a little bit darker, it's going to take all the shadows and make that a little bit more dark. This deals with the highlights of the image, and this blends based off the mid-tone values. Okay, and this one's just crazy. So the main thing that you want to recognize is, do you want to do anything with the shadows? Do you want to do anything with the highlights? Or do you want to do anything with the mid-tone values? All right, so if I change this to multiply, it's going to be a lot darker. If I change this to, let's say, screen, it's going to be a lot brighter because that's highlights. And then overlay is going to be midtones and soft light, midtones. So if I adjust saturation, you know, if I wanted the midtones to be a little bit brighter, I can do that. But this one kind of takes the overall tone. So I would go here, bring that down. Okay. All right. Now, the one thing that you want to recognize is that the color that we put as an overlay, that's not necessarily the color that I want her eyes to be. And also the whites of her eyes are not going to be this brown. So what I need to do is I need to be able to eliminate or hide the information that's going to be in this white and brown, right? So on the mask, I use my paintbrush. I'm going to change the value to black. I'll zoom in. And with my paintbrush, using the right and left arrow brackets to make it bigger or smaller, I'm using black. Black on the mask hides information. So it will hide that color change. And white, using this little arrow here, white will bring that information back. And the reason why that works is because this is an adjustment layer adding color on top. Okay, so again, white will reveal the color, black will hide or mask the color. Okay. Command minus zooms out, command plus zooms in. Okay. Now, I want to do, let's say I want to do the hair. But instead, we'll just do the eyes because we're right here. I'm going to take my selection tool of the elliptical tool, make a selection. How do I add a selection? Because I want to do two eyes. What would I hold to add a selection? Shift. Okay, so now I have two selections. I go up to select and mask. This is my, let me cancel that. I have to make sure that I'm on the actual layer. Select and mask. This is transparency. All right, a little scary. But with this, I don't want this to be so sharp. I need to add feather because I want it to be a smooth transition of color. All right, so I'm going to add feather to that. I don't want it to be this soft because then that'll add color to the whole shape of the eye. So I just want it to be right around this pupil area, and then I press OK. With that, the next step is to go down here to create new adjustment layer. Scroll down to hue and saturation. It creates a mask. And within this mask, I need to create or click on Colorize. And once I select colorize, this is where I can change the color of the eyes. What color do you want? Purple? Red? Let's give her some nice blue eyes. I can make the intensity way up. Or I can make it more subtle. I can make it brighter, crazy, less crazy. Okay. If I change the blending mode, let's say to darken, it does something to it. Color burn, something crazy. Multiply, screen, lighten, overlay, soft light, color, and I can also bring down, if I don't want it to be on full strength like that, I can take down the opacity, which is just a subtle color change. So now I have full control over if I want it to be affected or not, because it's its own layer. And if you're showing it to like a client or something like that, you can say, they say, you know what, I don't like that color eyes, I'd rather her have green eyes. So now I can go right up here to hue and saturation and switch that to green. And so you have an easy change. Okay, and I can zoom out, take a look, maybe they're too green, so maybe I'll bring the opacity down just so they are slightly green. Okay, and then I repeat those steps for the hair, the background, and the sweater. And I'm gonna do the sweater just really fast because I just want to show you how that sweater is done. So I'm gonna use my lasso tool, and I'm gonna go around the sweater, come down and around. And then come. Say it again. Are you gonna do what? The lips? Yes. So you would make a selection, and I'll do that after. So I made my selection here. I'm gonna go to select and mask, but cancel. Make sure you have to go back to the original layer. Then go to select and mask. This is your selection. It's very rough. If you don't do your select and mask, this is the way your color is gonna come out, with those very sharp edges. You don't want that. So I add feather, softens it, okay, and it helps the transition from color to color. And smooth, if it's too sharp in certain areas, you can add smooth to it, and then you press OK. After that, you go to your add adjustment layer, scroll down, go to hue and saturation, click on colorize, and voila. Green, purple. I like how purple fits on her. So we'll do purple. I can put how intense I want that purple to be. Okay. I can also make it light purple, dark purple, but this is still set to normal in the blending, so I need to go down to color, and it makes it pop. The shades of gray work well with the color change. Okay, so just to reiterate some of the steps. The first thing is to make your selection. The second step is to select back on the original layer. The third step is to go up to select and mask, make your adjustments, your global refinements to add feather. The fourth step is to go into your hue and saturation adjustment layer, and then once you do that, it's going to take your selection protect the area that the color is going to affect, and then the black area is going to be the protected area, and the white area is going to be the one that the color is going to affect. So once you're on the adjustment layer, you can click on this icon, and this is going to give you your properties to make the adjustments, and then this icon allows you to correct the black and white. Now I'm going to show you, this is going to be the end of this particular video, because I'm going to show you what happens when you need to correct something, and I'll do that with the lips. So I'm going to zoom in here on the lips. I'm going to go back to my original layer. I'm going to use my lasso tool here, and I'm going to make this adjustment, and I'm going to come around, and oops, it goes all the way over there by accident. Now I can choose to go and remake this selection, but let's just say I didn't know that I made that mistake, and I went through the whole process. So I made my selection. I go up here to select the mask. I do that. I go feather, soften it up a little bit. Okay. I push OK. I go down to my adjustment layer, hue and saturation. And as I'm in the hue and saturation, I click on colorize. I set my tone, my hue, my saturation here. I increase the ability. Now, first of all, the one thing that I have to, I guess, take into account is that I am trying to make this color red. It's not showing me red because this is being blocked by the skin tone. Now I'm going to double click on hue and saturation, and so I don't get confused by what's what. I'm going to type in skin tone. This one is eyes. This one is sweater. And this one, oops, cancel. Double click on the words. This is lips. Okay. Now, the order makes a difference because the red lips are going to go on top of the skin tone. So if I take this and move this to the top, now you see the color. Very beautiful, right? So now, the red, I can bring this down. You know, I can go deep. I can, make it more light. All right, but anyway, this is how saturated or less saturated you want it to be, and this is also the different color. She's got a purple on. We're gonna give her some purple. Okay. She's stepping out today. Okay. So anyway, we make this purple. I'm gonna set my normal blending mode down here to color to see what that does. That doesn't work for us. So maybe I'll go with overlay. Overlay is okay, but it's not really what I want. This is a little bit more subtle. This is soft light. Maybe I go to multiply. That's a little bit more goth. Darken. Maybe I want to do darken. And then if I take the opacity down, this affects it less. So it's a little bit less subtle, maybe here, right? Still, she must have been putting her makeup in the car, right? So we have this stuff that's going all the way off to the side. So what I need to do is on this mask, I need to go to my paintbrush, make sure that this is set to black because black hides the color. And then when I go over it, I'm actually hiding the color if I want to make adjustments. So I am doing digital makeup. Okay. And then I can do something like that. And if I wanted to bring it back, let's say I wanted to bring it back right here, I go and switch my color to white. And I'm going to make a mistake. So I'll just come all the way down like that. And that'll be what I don't want, right? So I switch to black, and I can come right here and say, let's just take that off. Okay. And then I can zoom out, Command minus. And if it's too strong, I can always go into my opacity and bring this down a little bit. Ladies, am I doing okay with this little makeup thing here? All right, not bad, not bad. I got some practice. So with skin tone, the thing that I want to point out is that no one has just a even one skin tone color. So your cheeks are either red or maybe there's some highlights in there, things like that. So I would actually make a selection right around this area, feather it out, on this side and this side, just to give her some more life, and add a low opacity red or blush type of thing to her skin tone, just to give her some life a little bit more, right? Because right now it's just a flat kind of skin tone. Do I want her eyebrows to be darker, match her hair, whatever I want to do? I'm going to make a selection, a new selection for her hair. Go back to layer 1. Go to Hue and Saturation. Follow the same types of steps. Colorize. Do some things for her hair. Same thing for the background. Make the selection. Follow the steps. Create the Hue and Saturation adjustment layer. And then that's how you would complete this image. To save this out, to turn in, basically what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, Save As. Instead of Photoshop, you're going to change that format to JPEG, which is right here. Name it with your name. Make sure you know where you're going to save this thing. I'll just save it to the desktop for now. Save. This is fine, high, and you press OK. So that particular file will show up, and then that's what you will turn into Blackboard. If I go back here, Colorize Photos. In this Colorize Photos, I'm going to create the assignment right now, and it will say Colorize Photos, and I'll put this for next Wednesday. At the end of the day. Okay, so this is where you turn this in, Colorize Photos. And matter of fact, let me just put homework Dropbox. Okay, so that's where you would turn in that file. Okay.